This is the Havilland DH.98 Mosquito. Faster than a Spitfire, it was powered by not one but two of those famous Merlin engines, and in 1941 it was one of the fastest operational aircraft in the world. But this was not a pure fighter. The most produced variant was the Mark VI, which was a fighter bomber capable of 378 miles per hour with a 2,000-pound bomb load. It got selected for special operations. On the 30th of January 1943, the 10th anniversary of the Nazis gaining power, a Mosquito attack knocked out the main Berlin broadcasting station while Hermann Göring was speaking on air, rendering him silent. AuthentiKit is a freeware project. We're creating flight controls for a wide range of aircraft with an initial focus on vintage warbirds, followed by vintage and classic general aviation. We're harnessing the power of 3D printing in conjunction with high quality but low cost components like Hall sensors and sealed bearings. All flight controls can be assembled at your kitchen table with no workshop tools, no soldering and no metal work. You can source the parts yourself, or third parties are providing kits of all the hardware as well as 3D printed parts. And this is the throttle or engine control box. Dual controls, of course, dual prop levers and dual throttles, each with levers to engage additional boost to the engine for climbing. Although the engine was equipped with automatic mixture control, some variants had a mixture lever to be engaged at high altitude. It looks rather like our AuthentiKit version, won't you agree? In fact, I recently met a 100-year-old Mosquito pilot at RAF Coningsby who confirmed as much to me. Although he did point out one thing that we arguably got wrong if absolute authenticity is our goal. These prop levers, they were actually white, even though you'll often see them in orange in certain flight sims, and for real, if you're ever lucky enough to see one. It's purely down to the effects of aging, so you are welcome to print them in white or orange as you wish. I hope you agree, this really is a magnificent piece of kit. It was designed by AuthentiKit community member Harry Armstrong. It's got a very sturdy construction with a lovely lever action, and of course the highly regarded AuthentiKit hydraulic damping system built into these throttle levers. Oh yes. So it's fully AuthentiKit compatible. It plugs into the AuthentiKit Universal Hub using inputs 2 and 8, so you will need the expanded configuration as the starter kit version only copes with a single throttle. It mounts to the usual quick release plate, so you can place it exactly where it should be in the real aircraft. An extra point I should make is that this unit is fully functional, including this blower mode switch, which is effectively a gear change on the supercharger. However, the current version of the AuthentiKit Universal Hub lacks the capacity to support that input, so you can choose to wait until we have updated the hub to version 2, or you could, if you wish, repurpose one of the other inputs temporarily. So I would suggest using either the cowl radiator input pins or the landing gear, probably the radiator pins. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble one of these Mosquito controls at your kitchen table with no soldering, no cutting, no drilling, no gluing or any of that messy stuff. This is more like Meccano. In fact, you need little more than a screwdriver. First, you'll need some 3D printed parts. So if you have a 3D printer, or you decide that this is the excuse to finally buy one, and I'll include links to a couple of good options in the description, then you can print these parts yourself over a few days for like $20. And the design files are available free from the AuthentiKit download site. Link in the description. You'll also need a bunch of components. Bearings, wires, screws, springs. The list of what you need will be included in the download, so you can source all of these parts yourself individually if you like. Alternatively, you can buy this box, along with this box of screws, which contains everything you need. and you can get it from our friends SimKit Supplies. In fact, the box contains more than you need, as it contains several sets of all the AuthentiKit standard parts, so you'll be able to build the Mosquito trim wheel and other controls that exist already or will come soon. Finally, if you don't have a printer, just make a request on the SKS Enquiries page, and they can sort you out with the printed parts too. Okay, I've kept you waiting long enough. Let's get started. We have our assembly steps. They go over a few pages. And we have our wiring diagram. Now you can see at the start of the assembly steps there are 3 preparation steps, because to avoid repeating a lot of standard things in every single video, I've already prepared a few things. So I've already applied this white lettering. And you can see here that that's how it actually comes off the printer. And I have also wired up 5 mag holes. There are 3 mag hole 6803Fs and 2 of the HXF variants, which include hydraulic damping. Now make sure you follow the wiring diagram to use the right lengths of wire and the right colours of wire. If you're new to AuthentiKit, check out the videos in the description which show you how to wire up a mag hole and how to apply the white lettering. Now I don't actually have a video on the felt, but it's very easy. Just print out the template PDF. When you've printed it, check that that block is exactly 100mm, just in case it's got scaled by your Adobe or your printer software. Cut out these felt templates so that you end up with pieces like this, and then use them as a template to cut out the felt. One good option is to turn it over, and to remember to turn this over at the same time. Go around it with a Sharpie and cut it out. Or another technique that I've used is to use a bulldog clip to hold it in place and then just snip straight away without drawing an outline. Okay, it's time to get cracking. We need 3D printed parts, we need a screwdriver, we need screws, and we need caffeine in my lovely AuthentiKit aviation mug. Right over the page, step 1 of part 1. Connect the 2 parts of the front panels. These are the 2 parts. They go like that, using the front panel connector, which is that, and 6 M4 6mm screws, which are the nice little short ones like that. So, away I go. And an M4 20mm, that goes in the side here. Number 2, attach the propeller lever stops, that's these, to the front panel with 2 10mm. They go from the inside here, and the screw holes face up like that. Number 3, attach the propeller indicator text to the front panel, and that's with the flange screws. I'll just open up these holes a touch. This is the first layer, so they've closed off a little bit. Number 4, attach the tension screw large knob to the front panel using 3 M4 20mm screws with the flat side facing outwards, so not that way, but that way. And it goes from this side. So we're talking like this, and you see the little recess at the bottom, that lines up with that. Okay, that's number 4. Right, number 5. Place the air screw, right-hand side mag hole, in the front panel tension screw recess, so that's the recess, and attach with 3 M4 10mm screws. Now we need to use the right one, so it's a mag hole, not the F version, not the one that has the damper on it. So it's air screw right-hand side. Let me pull this across, you can see here, air screw right-hand side mag hole. Red, blue, green, it's always that way around. Red, blue, green is the wiring, 30cm length of wire. So that's the right one. In fact, I think the other one's just the same, but we're using the right one there, and in that goes. And from the back, the 10mm. Okay. Once attached, the wires are threaded through the top channel to the left of the mag hole. That's this top one here. I think for now, I'll just pop them out that RJ45 hole, keep them out of the way. Number 6, attach the large knob to the large knob using 4 M4 6mm screws, so that's like this. And number 7, screw the small knob tension screw onto the large knob tension screw. Done. Very nice. So number 8, next up, time to apply some felt. Cut out, okay, already done that, but attach the felt to the front panel, felt number 1. So I've already cut the felt, and I remembered to write on the back of it which one it was, particularly important for the ones that are reversed. You've got a 5A and a 5B, so there's number 1. Let's peel that off. There it goes. That's fairly neat. Number 9. Next we need to prepare and attach the right propeller lever. First attach the propeller lever handle. These are identical. To the right top propeller lever. The right side has a longer handle extension than the left. So we're doing the right, that's the longer one. That's the one we want. And we want to attach, these are identical, so that's no problem. Attach it using an M3 6mm countersunk. So there's the recess for the countersunk, and then it goes. Okay, that's in. Now attach the right lower propeller lever. So that's shorter than the left lower lever, the short one. So we don't want the long one. And this attaches to the mag hole. There it goes. Using an M4 10mm screw, and then we attach the lower and upper part of the propeller lever by passing the top part through the hole and connecting it with 2 M4 30mm. Now I've found actually that you can fasten this and then feed it through, and it's a little bit easier to do this in the other order, but you can use either way. So I'm going to put the 30mm on first, then I'm going to feed it through and then do the mag hole. There we go, nice and tight. These are long screws because we also want to add some strength to that lever. And then I did say that this would feed through, didn't I? So it does. So clip that over, align the D shape, and you can, there you go, you can feel that just rotating the mag hole, and that's a 10mm. You have to get these right. Too long and you'll damage the mag hole. Too short and it just wouldn't reach actually. There it is. That's pretty good. Number 11, felt is applied to both sides of the propeller felt separation plates. That's this one, using 2A and 2B. The plates then attach to the front panel, matching the slots with the correct extrusions. One has a flat. Now there's a little bit of a flat there, see that? And there's a little bit of a flat here. So it goes like that. So that's how it goes on. Let's put the felt on. 2A and 2B. I think A is on this side. B's on this side. Yeah, that's good. I think they're fairly symmetrical actually, but I'll go that way around. That's A, which will be on that side. And there's B. Okay, good. On that goes. So that plate is now attached to the front panel, matching the slots. We've done that with 4 M3 8mm roundhead screws. That's these things. Okay, there it is. That is our first lever. Actually, I should have mentioned, before you fit that lever, these 3 screws around the prop lever give you the chance to adjust friction. So I can kind of do a little bit now. I can clamp those down a little bit more. There we go. And get, yes, a little bit more friction. Next up, number 12, we need to prepare the center mag hole base, that's this, which will hold both the left propeller lever and the right throttle lever. First felt's applied to the propeller side, that's this side, using felt 3. Okay, here's felt 3. Then the air screw left-hand side mag hole. Air screw left-hand side mag hole, so that's a red, black, green, 30 centimeters, is attached to the propeller side, which is this side, using 3 M4 8mm screws. So there's my other mag hole, in that goes, turn it over, 8mm screws. Again, don't get it wrong, It needs to be no longer than 8mm. Okay. Now I am going to just test for friction a little here. Yeah, I can add a bit more there. That's better. And then these wires are fed through the hole to the lower left of the mag hole, so that's this hole. As before, the left lower propeller lever is attached to the mag hole using an M4 10mm screw. The propeller handle is attached to the left upper propeller lever using another M3 6mm. And these will be connected after the propeller side base is attached to the front panel, because unlike the last one, it is a lot harder to wiggle this through once the mount's in place. So first we attach this panel like so with 4 M4 14mm screws. There we go. And finally, for step 13, it's a pretty long step, isn't it? We attach this lever with another 30mm on each side. There we go, you can really tighten these down. Now, how does that feel? That feels good. That feels good. Harry, you are one hell of a designer. Okay, let's crack on. The final part of the center mag hole base is now prepared. Firstly, by adding felt to this throttle side base. Now I've just done that, you don't need to see me do that every time, so there's felt 4 that's gone on there. Then, the right hand side, mag hole 6803HXF, so you can check your wiring, that's another red, blue, white. Let's make sure that blue is gripped in there in the little channel. That's 30 centimeters. That gets attached here. Turn it over with 3 14mm M4 screws. Okay, that's the mag hole fitted. Now we fit this plate to this plate, the throttle to the propeller with the felt facing is that way, but we also have to watch out for the wires being fed through the relevant holes. So that means the red, black, green going up here and the red, blue, white going down here and also down here. Now I think it's slightly easier in terms of process is if we just do the red, black, green first, then it's 4 lots of 14mm, and then we can do the red, blue, white wires all the way through there. So now we can thread the red, blue, white down through this left hand hole here. Let's pull all that through. And then those wires, those are the ones actually from the 6803HXF. That's the one with the hydraulic damping. They're fed through the middle channel on the back. That's this. Now there's kind of a couple of hoops here, but really you only need to go through the left one. That will keep them nicely out of the way. And a pair of pliers is useful because then you can just grab things a bit more easily. That's that done. And I will again pop these just out through that socket on the side just to keep them out of the way. And now step 16, which is to fit this side body panel to this front panel here with 3 M4 10mm. There we go. Now that is part 1 complete, and that is coming together very nicely. So now we're going to construct the throttle levers, and the process is very similar for the left and the right. We're going to start with the right, that's the one with the RP fire button, and we're going to start by assembling the clinch button, which is in this. We won't fully assemble the clinch button at this stage, but we will put the clinch, the standoff into it. Now that should slide in, it should move freely, but without any slop. If you don't get that, then correct your calibration and reprint it, because that's how it should be. And we then put on the back of that, we have our tact switch. Now prepare the tack switch by bending over 2 of the pins at kind of 90 and flattening 2 out. So we've got it like that, you see. 2 of them slot away in the recess and 2 of them stick out like that. And the wiring diagram tells us to have 2 60mm lengths of black and yellow, doesn't matter which way round. Let's start with the yellow. We slide over a ferrule, slide it over one of the pins. In fact, you can just do it separately from the clinch at this stage. Give these a good twist. Black one. Slide that over like that. Drop that on. And then crush this down. Take care not to stab your fingers, but give that a good crush. There you go, you can see that really has crushed tightly. Okay, now that's what you want, nice and tight. And then the ends of the pins can just fold away under here. There you go, can you see that? There's little channels there for them to fold away into, and the same on this one. Now place the clinch button in the throttle handle body with in the recess with the wires pointing towards the raised part. That's this bit. So there you go, like that. If you've calibrated it right, that will slot in nicely. You can feel the tact being depressed there. Now number 3, feed the wires up through the handle cap and out of the side hole, which is this. So you can basically do it like this. There. And then feed the wires through about 8 centimeters of 4mm black silicon tube. Good, that goes through nice and easily. Now slide the silicon tube up into the hole in the cap, so into here, like that. And we slide all this together, and then carefully easing the yellow and black through without pulling them out, you slide it all together so that the silicon's crushed by the little sticky up bit there, and the whole unit is nicely slotted together. And then 1 14mm screw and 2 M2 12mm hold it all together. So let's get the 14 in first. Okay, things are quite secure now. Okay, and now we can pop the spring on and the button itself with an M3, and we screw the M3 into the standoff. So you just have to push that in until it bites. There it is. Alright, brilliant. And you can, as you press it, you can just feel at the end of the travel, you can feel the tack switch clicking. And then this tiny, tiny little button body cap drops in here, and it presses in, and that should be nice and tight. That's great. That's a lovely switch, isn't it? Okay, number 7. The trigger lever hold, which is this, is now fitted to the right upper throttle lever with one M4 8mm screw. Now the right upper lever is very similar to the left upper lever. However, the right upper lever has this third hole in the base. So that's the one, and then here we can put the 8mm screw. Okay. Now fit a 684ZZ bearing in the recess on the opposite side, like that. But next, the trigger stop lever for the right lever is attached with an M4 20mm screw which goes through the bearings and attaches to the other side, so like this. Now that stop lever is very similar to that stop lever, And the one you want is the one which has this countersink here on the same side as the other hole. You can see that the countersink is on the opposite side of the hole on that one. So this is the one you want. Goes through like that. So tighten that up. And then an M4 8mm roundhead screw is added to the trigger stop lever in the available screw slot there. And leave about 2mm of the thread free. So in other words, about that, where you've got 2mm between the head and the body. Maybe it's a bit less than that, yeah? Number 9, we need some bungee cord, about 15 centimeters. That should do it. And this is used to create a spring mechanism. So tie a knot in one end, push that knot to the very end, because it's kind of wasted otherwise, and then let's snip that off. Okay, so that's one knot on the end, and then pass the free end through the channel in the trigger stop lever. So that's this. And if that doesn't go through, you need to cut it fresh again. Alright, that should go through now. Yep. And that passes through here and then through the hole underneath it. Bit of help. There it is. Now pull it taut, like that, and tie another knot so the bungee cord holds tension. So, might be a little bit fiddly. If you'd have been more generous than me and cut a longer length of bungee, you'd have found it easier, wouldn't you? It was a bit stingy there. No, it's good. It's good. There we go. So there's a knot in the end, and there is the action that we're after. And then cut the excess off. So cutting the excess off is nice and easy. Just create some tension and then snip it. Brilliant. There we go. Okay, number 10. Carefully thread the wires through the upper throttle lever, so the one we just worked on, and then through the right lower throttle lever. So it's here that we're going to run the wires through, and they have to negotiate a little corner, so a little bit of pushing. There we go, that's great. They have to go through there. Now there are two lower throttle levers and they look very similar, but one of them has an extra hole. That's the one we want because this is where these wires are going to go in. So they feed in through here, and then they pop out the side through there. Okay, you see what's happening here? And now we pull everything through so that the silicone is nice and snug in that hole. And then like that. Let's pull everything through. Then we fit these two together with two 30mm countersunks. Really drive those tight. There's a lot of thread, so you can drive those pretty tight. And now we can do number 11, which is attach the right throttle RP fire button over there to the upper lever and fasten it with an M3 6mm, which is that one, and pull the wires through the silicone so the silicone is snug. Now actually oh yeah, we can do some more of that, can't we? There is a scope for a little bit more of that, but really it was better to do it earlier, I think. Okay, so that's the right hand lever. Let's do the left hand lever. It's similar but simpler. We've got no RP fire button. We do have a 664ZZ. We do have a stop lever. It goes that way because as it rotates it catches against that little edge there. So in goes another 20mm screw. Okay, another 8mm round goes there. Same sort of clearance, couple of mil, more bungee, get the knot in, feed it through that hole. Yeah, that went in better that time, didn't it? Another knot. And then slide the knot up a bit. That's good. Snip. And then we can have a snip here as well. Okay, that's good. It's moving freely. Connect these two together, again with 30mm screws. So make sure they go in from the countersunk side. And they go that way. Yeah, they're not going to go that way, are they? Shouldn't be too difficult to get those the right way around. Okay, just drive those really tight and firm and secure. And then the handle attaches to the upper lever like that. Another one of these tiny M3s. And there we go. That's the other lever done. Let's do number 13, the rotary dampers. They go here. Those are round-headed M3 8mm. Now number 14, we've got the right throttle lever, we've got the Maghall 6803HXF, that goes on here with one screw. There it is, that's in place. That's a 6mm countersunk screw, pretty sure that is. Yep. Yep, that's good. Now these wires are threaded up, not down. Make sure it's up through this hole here to keep them clear of the teeth, and then down through this hole here like that, and then down through this hole here. And you just need to remember to leave enough clearance for the maximum travel. So that's the maximum travel. Let's take the slack so that they're like that. That's good. And then that's the amount we pull through. Okay, one more thing just to finish off. Step 14 is to run the wires along the same channel as the Maghall wires. So that is the red, blue, white Maghall, and there we can see that's the channel it went through. Let's pull those through there and tuck them through that hole for now. Number 15, these are the middle separation plates, 7.2 and 7.3. They are added to the front panel like this. And they go like that. And then we use two 6mm and two 10mm here and one 6mm in here. Okay, that's the 6s. Those are the 10s. Yep. And then a 6 in here. Okay, number 16, the throttle end stops. That's what these are. You attach them with two M4 8mm screws and they go like that. They can go both ways. I've got a feeling that it's that way. Hopefully I got that right, Harry. You can see that the holes here are offset, so it'll stick more to one side. I think it's that way. Now the other thing Harry tells us is that space is tight, so this can be fiddly. And you're not wrong there, because it's very hard to get a screwdriver inside here. So what I've done, this is the holder for a screwdriver that comes with most of the designs. I include it in the tools section, and that's the bit that comes with the starter kit. And what I've done is I've made this little holder here, which we can use to get inside this little tight space. So let's have another go at this. I'm going for that way. In fact, what I'll do is I'll get a thread on. In fact, a good idea is going to be to make sure these threads are nicely in there first, isn't it? Okay, that's well threaded. I will start by just putting a twist on here before I get the screwdriver in. Okay, And then let's have a go at this. That's one. There you go. And that is 2. So that is in the tools section. Okay, we're up to part 3. Number 1, connect the 2 parts of the back panel. So here we are, the back panel, using the backplate connector. That's what that is, and that goes in. That's a tight fit, goes in like that. And we use 6 M4 6mm on the face of the back panel, so it doesn't go in that way. It goes in that way. Okay, there it is. So now we attach felt 6 to the back panel for the throttle, so that's here, and 7 here for the mixture. Okay, there it is. Oof, not quite the prettiest, but that's good enough, isn't it? Number 3, the left-hand throttle mag hole. That's the one remaining one which has the teeth for the hydraulic damping. That's attached to the back panel here. And that goes in with 3 M4 8mm through the back. Okay. And then the wires pass through the channel below. So there's the channel below. Very nice. And we have just one more mag hole left. That's for the mixture lever, and that goes here. And we fit that with 3 more M4 8mm. Okay. Now it says leave the wires free for now, so we will. Number 5, the left throttle lever is attached to this mag hole using another 6mm screw. So this is how we do that. Okay, now I've found something I've encountered before, which is that in order to mesh the teeth of the hydraulic damper with those teeth, you kind of need a little bit of slack in the mag hole. So I'm going to loosen these off a touch. I've actually taken 2 of the screws out, so it's really moving quite freely. Now I can make some contact. I can firmly press the lever onto the mag hole. That's good and strong. And also check for friction, because remember, this is our chance to tighten these screws up. That's really quite good, actually. Right, let's flip that over and put the 8mm back in again. Okay, let's get that 6mm in now for the throttle lever. There it goes. Okay, we're still on step 5. We've got the throttle felt plate, which is this one, and we need to add felt to both sides of that. So we've got 5A and 5B. It should be fairly obvious which way around they go. Yep, it's not that way around. That is more like it. Okay, so I'm going to add that felt now. You don't need to be too precise when you add the felt, but what you don't want to do is go beyond these points here, because otherwise the felt will kind of create a gap and this won't press firmly into where you want it to press. Actually, it's more an issue on that side, isn't it? So yeah, not going past that line there, and well, we'll find out. When I fit this here, it should, yeah, the plastic part should touch and this shouldn't be gripping a piece of felt. We now fit the felt plate with 4 M4 8mm screws. There we go. Let's try it out. Right, let's finish step 6. We've got the inner mixture handle, that's this. The outer mixture handle, that's this. And we attach it to the mixture lever, like this, with 1 M4 20mm screw. Okay. Good. So that can go in tight, and now this outer part rotates as you move the lever. So that's that. Okay, the mixture lever is attached to the mag hole with an M4 10mm. So that's here. Let's rotate this round. Okay, so it's an M4 10mm that attaches this lever to the mag hole. You need the D line at the front there. Okay, let's get that in. Good, good. A little bit of slack. Let's tighten up the mag hole. That's better, that's better. A little bit more. That's better. And we're almost there with our final piece of felt. So this is the felt mixture plate. That's going to go here with the countersink on top, which means that the felt is going underneath it like that. So let me fit that now. Flip that over and fit that down with 4M4 8mm. There we go. Now that's nice. That is nice. That is part 3 complete. I should just say, by the way, that there are a few versions of the Mosquito throttle there that don't have the mixture lever on them. I would wire it up just to have all the electrical connections. I'd wire it up with the mag hole, but you could simply choose to leave that lever off if you want. But it's kind of nice to have it on, isn't it? It could be useful for other aircraft. Okay, step 4, the air ministry toggle switch. This actually is just a fabulous design. It's a new component. It's a copy of a real thing. It's a fabulous piece of work by Harry. I helped him at the end with a couple of tweaks just to standardize a few things, but it's fundamentally a fabulous design by Harry, and I think people are going to want to use this in a lot of places. In fact, I think it is just the perfect thing for the nav switch, and probably various other things in a Spitfire and other aircraft of that era. So let's get going with it. We need to fit an MR52ZZ, that's one of these tiny things, into the pusher, which is this. So that goes in there. And again, this, because these are all quite small things, they're very dependent on getting your calibration right. So if you're struggling and things aren't fitting well, then just check your calibration and you may need to print them again. We attach it to the switch case using a 12mm long M2. So that's this one here, and it goes that way round. And with these tiny screws, you need your PH1 screwdriver. It goes like that, see? Just make sure it moves freely. Doesn't have to be super loose actually, because there is a bit of pressure on it. And then a limit switch is fitted into the switch holder. So there's our limit switch. Here's our switch holder, and it goes like that. Actually, we need to do this in a slightly different order to how it's implied in the assembly instructions. So wire it up first, then we'll clamp it down. So it's the usual ferrules over the wire lengths, and how long are the wire lengths? It's black and yellow as per the diagram, 16 cm long. I think that's about right. And we slide that over the pins here. That's one of them. No, you don't want these too long actually. It's really enough just to have 5mm like that. And a twist, of course. On it goes. And there's the other one. Doesn't matter which colour goes where. So it goes like that. Okay, and then before we put the cap on, crush them down. There we go, nicely crushed. Give them a little tug, check that that's secure. Now on with the cap. And now the 12mm. Okay, there it is. So then we fit the spring on, and we slide everything into the case like this. So the spring will press against the pusher, and we put a couple of M3 6mm countersunks to hold that unit in place. Okay? Okay, step 3. the switch lever and the pivot plate. It's going to go like that, and these dowel pins are going to act as a bearing to allow that to rotate, but they're inclined to drop out. So let's do it a slightly different order, which is that we will first attach the articulator, which is this one, to the switch lever. Now the articulator takes two of these tiny bearings. One goes in from one side and the other goes in from another. Then take your M2 8mm screw, pop it in from the bearing side on either end. Pretty sure it doesn't matter which end, but from the bearing side, and then screw it into the switch lever. It really helps to use a proper PH1 screwdriver because you can kind of hold the screw and it's just less fiddly. Okay, so screw that in. Well, it doesn't go too tight because I think I've created just a little bit of a lip to prevent it from rubbing. Now we'll slide the switch lever with the articulator attached through the pivot plate, drop in the first of the dowel pins. Okay, put your finger in the bottom to stop them all falling through. Drop the other one in. Okay, step 4. We've got all of step 3 done now. We've got the two dowels in. They would drop out if I wasn't applying a little bit of pressure. We've got the tiny bearing there with the M2 12mm long screw holding it, with the screw head going in from the bearing side. We've got another bearing hanging upside down now, and if I just hold a little pressure, things don't drop out. What I need to do is invert this, have it that way round, because as step 4 says, as I place the switch lever into the case, I do that in a way that the articulator, which is the green one, is on the bottom of the lever, yeah, that way up. So now the bearing is actually sitting on top of that articulator. Slide that in. As soon as that's in there, it should be safe from the dowels dropping out. And you can see now that, again, putting the screw in from the bearing side, we can now fasten it to the pusher. I think, yep, right, I've got that. So that is in there. I can just turn that upside down now. And now I can put the plate on top, which will stop that pivot plate from just dropping out. And I need a couple of small countersunk 6mm. Okay. Right, there it is. So this is the action. It's a really nice click and a very secure feel of a switch. And I've got to say, I'm very glad that I've just put that on video, because every time I put this together, I forget which way around these things go, and I'm going to be referring to this. Okay, here's number 6. We drop the whole unit into its housing here, and we hold that down with 4 6mm flange. That's really good. Okay, step 5, the final steps. We're going to be bringing the front panel and the back panel together, wiring it up and closing up the unit. So bring them together like that. Also, it helps to put a little box just to elevate the lower one, so that the two halves are closer together, and just it helps you with having less slack wire to sort of deal with. And let's run this wire through. So the first one here is to pass the mixture lever wires. So here we go, the red, black, the red, blue, white. Give those a twist and get those to one nice little point you can feed easily, and then they go through the hole in the side body. Then they go through this lower channel here. There's another hoop from that lower channel on this side, and there's also one underneath. So try to feed it through the one underneath this plate as well, if you can. Okay, there it is. And the last one, There we go, that's the last ones. Okay, so that's the mixture wires. Then we have the toggle switch wires. Let's get that out of the way. Toggle switch wires through the lowest channel here. Again, twist the ends, makes things easier. That's one. And then again. Alright. Take up the slack. And then finally we have the prop wires, the red, black, green. They go through that middle one. Red, black, green. Very good. Okay, step 2. We're going to wire up the RJ45s, but also we're going to joint some of the common wires on these posts. Now the posts, one, can you see there? There's 3 actually here. Ignore the top one, that's just kind of an extra one in case you need it. But you might be able to see that that is labelled A, and that's B, and that's C, and that's D. So let's wire up post A first of all. That's a black from the RP fire button. So it'll be this black here. Trace that through in a second. And we've got the air screw right hand side, so that's the prop, and that's a black. So there are no other blacks floating around on that side, so that should make things a bit easier. So let's twist these together. And we take a third piece, about sort of 10-15 centimeters, and strip a long piece off that, and twist that together. Okay, make a little crook, have the crook that way in a clockwise orientation. And we need a flange head screw. In fact, while I'm at it, I'm going to put posts A, B, C and D, put some screws onto all 4 of them. Right, back to our little crook of jointed wires. We fit that round the post, like that, and tighten it up. Okay. Make sure that that's nice and strong and isn't going to fall out. Right, that's one joint. Second joint. We have 3 reds coming together, basically all the reds from that side. So here they all are, and there's a 4th one. This is a short piece, again 10-15 centimeters. All 4 of these now are going to be twisted together. Another clockwise crook. Pop that under post B. And then nip that up. Okay, check that that's all safe and sound. Yep, that's great. So on the back panel, it's the supercharger switch and the, well, both blacks basically. So there's 2, and there's my 3rd extension piece. Little crook. Right hand, always right hand. There it is. And then finally we have 2 reds that go to post D. There's D, so let's find those reds. Actually, here's a good point to say something, which is we've got a bit of loose wire now, haven't we? You know, we've got, say this yellow. There's quite a lot of yellow there, and more than we need. And the white, some of them are a bit tight. You may be tempted at this point to cut everything pretty short and just cut away the excess. Personally, I don't like to do that because, as you've seen here, there's times where as you put it together you need a longer piece of wire, then you're about to finish it and you'd rather not have the excess. However, if you put it together and something doesn't quite work, you want to take it apart again and just check that something hasn't come loose. You might then find that you've cut the wire too short and you can't feed it all the way through because it's kind of too short. So my preference is to keep the wires long, and you're going to see in a second how I'm going to cope with the excess. So my suggestion is to keep them long. So there are 3 reds. and a little crook. Post D. Good. That's nice and secure. Just making sure that those, you can't get any bits of wire crossing between the two posts. That would be bad. And now we can wire things up. So let's start with the front one. So that's the front one. That's the back one. So A and B are in the front one. And the order is red on the left. Now there are two blues, aren't there? So which blue is which? The blue that you want first is the throttle blue. You've got a blue here in that middle channel, and then you've got a blue down here in the lower channel, and it's the lower one that we want first. Give these wires a good twist, and if they're longer than about 5 mil, I'd cut them short to avoid shorting across channels. Then the other blue, not as complicated now. Then the black, 2 whites. So the white you want first is the throttle, and then that's the lower one. That's the lower channel white. Then the upper channel white. Then the green, then the yellow. And then in it goes. And finally, we'll try and tidy away the excess wire. Finally, before we finish with this side, take another very close look, preferably with a magnifying glass, just to make sure that these are all well seated, the wires aren't fraying, not too long, they're all making contact, and nothing is crossing over. You don't have a kind of fray little strand popping over to another channel. And just finally, the version you have of this, you may well find that there's a slot in the side of that little tube, that little half tube. If so, use it to slide the wires down to sort of grip them as they go in. I think that will be an improved version of what I've just built here. Okay, time to do the back. So it's red, a little easier on the colours here, red, blue, black, white, green, 2 spaces, and then yellow. Okay, here it goes. Final check. Red, blue, black, white, green, 2 spaces and yellow. And we have a slightly different solution for loose wire on this side. There's a little cavity that has this lid on it, and it curves around that little post there with a 12mm round head M4 screw, and you basically stuff these wires underneath, inside, and then screw this lid on them. So I think the trick is probably to get a couple of them in and then just shove some more in. Okay, that's about as good as you're going to get. Then tighten down that little lid. They should stay where they are, and then do a final check that you haven't pulled anything out. And now we can bring everything together. Okay, not a lot of slack underneath, that looks good. And from this side, we're going to be using these rather long M4 50mm round heads. 6 of them. Of course, the more sensible thing is probably to test this before you seal the box up, but I'm feeling a little bit reckless, and I will seal it all up and then I'll test it. Okay, there we go. All 6 are in. What's left? Couple of things. Bottom connector. That's this. So that goes here. And let me see which way around. There's a little groove, you can see there. And in fact, it's obvious which way is the bottom. You've got the countersunk. And it's slightly off center, isn't it, that? I think it's that way, yep. 8 mils again. Okay, one small confession. I have actually tested it, and it did work. Every axis worked, which is rather nice. I mean, it's a big build, this. It's you know, there's a lot of steps to it, but actually, because it's a big unit and it's quite spacious, you know, it's not too tricky to sort of access things. Okay, that's the 4th one in. Now, forgot something. I'll move this particular item down so it's a bit easier. I'll make a number 7 for it because there's a switch guard, which is this thing, and it goes like that. So that should have been added on earlier, so let's do that now. A couple of 8 mils again. Okay, that's done. Number 4, the M5, 16 mil. Now we don't use too many of these, that's what they look like. And they go into these slots here. And this gives you some adjustment, as well as a little bit of authenticity. A little adjustment in terms of the stops. Okay, yeah, you want this lower one, this one here, to be a good sort of half a head further in than the other one. And then that means, yeah, that these two will line up a lot better when you're at max prop. Very good. And these are pretty much the same position. So let's position this. And then the last one, number 5, that's the standard dovetail quick release, and remember that the slot goes at the bottom, lower, and that again is M4 8 mil. And that, my friends, is that. We have a Mosquito fighter bomber throttle or engine control unit with dual prop. We've got our supercharger switch, lovely switch that, Harry. Mixture control, RP fire switch, and then we have the dual throttles with hydraulic damping, and then with the boost for climb, which you pull these 2 levers back and we can do the extra travel and get that extra climb boost. And then as you roll back the levers, you can see that they just click in place. Now if you have a problem with those levers freeing or catching or whatever, just see how the positioning is of those screws. That's how you want it. You want them just sticking out enough to catch on that little catch there, but not obviously clashing or being too close. And that's pretty much what you want. And now we're going to plug it in. Okay, moment of truth. This is the input to the universal hub, the one you've used for the Spitfire or the P40B, and this is the H2 input for the throttle, so no change there. And that goes into the front. Now the second input adds the second engine, and that goes to H8. So you probably haven't used that unless you did the Spitfire gun sight, because that used the 2 axes on for H8. So in this case we're going to use those 2 axes for the second engine, and that goes in the back. By the way, I haven't plugged in the universal hub yet. It's always good to put the axes in first before you plug in the universal hub, or the Bodner board gets a little confused. One more thing about the inputs. As it says at the bottom of the wiring diagram here, the supercharger switch does not have an input on it. So H8 actually supports 2 axes but no extra input. And the reason is that the Bodner board is maxed out. We've used them all up. There is a solution, apart from waiting for the upgraded version of the universal hub, which will come in a few months' time. But as a quick fix, you can connect this right-hand pin inside the universal hub to an input of your choice that you are not using. So I've actually, in this demonstration, I've connected it to the gear, the landing gear. So you're going to see the landing gear pin blip when I press the supercharger switch. Okay, let's go for it. So the Ethernets are in. I'm going to plug in the USB. There's AuthentiKit. Let's do properties. Now let's go through the buttons. Supercharger switch. There we go, that was number 4, flicking. So that is the landing gear, in fact. and the fire button, number 3 flicking. We have, there we go, Y rotation is the right hand prop, the right hand engine prop, and then we've got, now these aren't working smoothly because I haven't calibrated, but we can just check that everything is working, yes, and then the left hand throttle lever. So in fact, why don't we go through a quick calibrate now. So we'll hit settings, calibrate, next, next. I haven't got a stick, by the way, so that's why the crosshairs weren't there. I'm going to click on display raw data. I always find that useful. Next, finish. So now we have, yeah, and of course you just need to reverse the axes in the flight sim to, there we go, brilliant, all working. So max throttle, full air screw, mixture, fantastic. And then the final point, I guess, is the mounting system. It's the exact same quick release system as for the Spitfire and the P40B controls. So if that's what's currently on your rig and you've got that on the quick release, you just slide that off and slide on your Mosquito throttle. Simple as that. You probably need to do some small adjustments here and using the Allen key adjustment just to get the height right and the distance from your body right. But that's a very quick and easy change. So that is the beauty of the AuthentiKit rig system, the ability to put the controls exactly where you want them, whatever aircraft you're flying. So I hope you agree with me. What a magnificent design this is that Harry has created for us. Please leave a comment and show your support on the AuthentiKit website page for this download. He's actually already well progressed on the trim wheel and the flaps levers for the Mosquito. So remember to subscribe if you want to know about those as soon as they're ready. And until then, take care folks, and I'll be back as soon as possible with some brand new flight controls. Bye for now.